Hi, I'm Jim Doty, and welcome to Dialogue. And my co-host, Christina Dodge.
Great to be here, as always.
This is going to be a terrific show.
Why?
We've got some incredible people here with an incredible story to tell. And I'm particularly pleased that we have Brenda Brkusic, who's a graduate of Chapman University and is now the station manager of the OC channel at KOCE.
In which this show airs on.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And my goodness, we have Brenda's mentor, teacher at the Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, David Ward, Academy Award winning screenwriter and director, and one of the great actors of our time, Michael York. It's
so great to have you all
pleasure and privilege
here.
to have you here. And this is going to be a show that is part of our documentary series, talking about some amazing documentaries that have been produced, where the genesis is here at Chapman University. But the story, Brenda, begins with you, and it's an incredible story, and a father by the name of Kruno, who inspired you to do this film. How did it all get started?
Well, both of my parents were born in Croatia, and my father was a political prisoner as a child under the former communist Yugoslav regime. And he, like many Croatians, risked his life to escape that regime and came to America with just the clothes on his back, made his way as a successful businessman in this country, and then when his homeland had the opportunity to realize freedom for the first time, he stood up in the international community and became an activist and a speaker, speaking at demonstrations in Chicago and Washington, D.C., trying to get George Bush Sr. to recognize Croatia's freedom movement. So I thought this was just an amazing story, not only the fact that he risked his life to escape his homeland and leave his family and try to make a new life for himself, but the fact that he tried to be a leader in the end to help his country and to go back and try to save lives over there.
When you were a little girl and you're growing up with your dad, were these stories, this background that he experienced, was it discussed? Did you grow up learning about these stories, or is it something that he held back?
That's a great question. I grew up with a great pride for Croatian culture. We were very involved in the community. However, my dad never spoke about his childhood, which is very common for a lot of, especially the men that escaped. They had such traumatic childhoods, and my dad is a very stoic person, very hard to impress because he's been through a lot in his life. So it wasn't until I sat down with him, actually I overheard him talking to a friend about how he escaped. That's the only time that I ever knew that something happened that was of interest. And so I said, Dad, I want to do a story. I want you to tell me your story, and I want to do a film. And he sat down with me for 2 days, and we filmed his entire story.
How did David Ward, your faculty member, your teacher, someone who became a mentor, how did you two get together?
Well, Chapman University offers the Marion Knott Scholarship
See, it all
every
starts
year.
right here at Chapman. So it's a common thread. Chapman University brings great people together.
And I thought, well, I'm going to apply for this scholarship and see if I'll be one of the, 5 undergraduates that got chosen to work with David, and I was chosen. And at this point, I had already gone to Croatia and filmed the footage and got the interviews and did the narrative recreations. And I went to David with all this footage and said, how am I going to, I had probably 50 hours of footage. I said, how am I going to turn this into an hour?
So how did you do that, David? How did you help
first
Brenda?
of all, she didn't show me 50 hours, thank you. The first cut I saw was maybe, an hour and a half, 2 hours? And I was fascinated with what I saw. I mean, it just, these amazing interviews with these people who had gone through this, had escaped the country, just incredible stories. Some great footage, she did some recreations, and it was just about really taking all of this material and shaping it into a strong narrative documentary. So, in the mentoring program, the Marion Knott mentoring program, you meet with the student an hour a week, and so for that hour we just look at the footage and discuss it and talk about what we felt was really working in telling the story. And the thing that was great about Brenda was that she was not at all, even though she'd worked very hard to get this footage and had done a lot of recreations, actual dramatizations of some of the things that happened, she wasn't defensive about keeping things. Young filmmakers sometimes have a hard time letting go of things that don't, they spend so much time and hard work to get the stuff. They don't want to part with it.
It's a love project for them, I'm sure. Are you guiding them from a perspective of thinking that how can they make money with this project or with the tools that they're going to learn making this project? So do you guide them to that commercial aspect of it, or are you just teaching them how to get from their heart and put that onto tape?
I think it was more a case of helping her to make the best film she could and to make the film that she wanted to make. And she knew what she wanted to do, and she obviously, or she wouldn't have had that kind of footage that was that good in interviews that are that moving. So for me, it was less about whether you're going to take this out and make money. You worry about that after you've got a product that's good.
I see.
Brenda, was it intimidating working with the person who received an Academy Award for the screenwriting, the Sting, which is in the AFI's 100 greatest films of all time, and then Academy Award nomination for Sleepless in Seattle? Were you intimidated as a student?
Well, let me tell you, the two best things that ever happened to me in my life was getting to work with these two people that I'm here with today. And David is so down to earth, and we got to sit with him. He would show his films, and he would do question and answer sessions afterwards, and we really got to know him as a person, and he would tell us funny stories, and one of the most engaging people I've ever listened to, and by far the best professor I've ever worked with.
He definitely knows how to put you at ease.
So I didn't feel intimidated. No, he was so friendly and just so helpful and really cared about my project. I felt like he cared about it as much as I did, and so it was great to work with him.
And how did you get Michael?
Right, yeah.
How did you get
Michael York,
involved?
you're one of the great actors.
Well,
what happened? How did you two meet, and how did you get going?
A friend of mine who composed the music for the film flew in from New York and said, I'm going to this fundraiser called the Adopt a Minefield fundraiser. It's going to help raise money to remove landmines from areas of Croatia. And he said, I think you should go. Some of my good friends are going to be there, and you'll have an opportunity to meet some of them. So I went and sat at the same table with Michael York, Beata Pozniak, and John Savage, who all ended up being in the film. In the end, I told them that I'm working on this project, and I'm a film student, and I would love if they could be involved in some way. And thought, oh gosh, they probably hear this all the time, and they're not going to take my call when I end up calling them. But they did, Michael did, and I sent him the script for the voiceover that I wanted him to do, and he graciously accepted.
Did you have an interest at that time in Croatia or Yugoslavia?
Yes, curiously enough, I'd been going there since the 70s because it was a great place for making movies. Very good place, very efficient. And then came the war, and I found myself actually in the war, arriving in, there. I was to do a movie with Martin Sheen called Gosper, based on the events at Medjugorje, where the children had a vision of the Virgin Mary. A really interesting film. And, arriving in Zagreb airport, no one was there, to an empty airport. And there was a journalist saying, why are you here? And I said, well, it's the time to do something creative in the face of all this terrible negativity and destruction. And then things happened, and then I was asked to be the chairman of the Rebuild Dubrovnik Fund, which Dubrovnik, this World Heritage Site, had been bashed and beaten and knocked about. And unfortunately, so there was an international effort to rebuild it. Now looks wonderful again, except for the roof tiles, which take 400 years.
Oh.
They're bent over a man's thigh, and they take 400 years for the patina to kick in. So we've got another 400 years on that.